bad for those sappers out there.
Guys, whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right. So just start off, then we're here for the Sapper Leader Course History Project, and just the purpose and why it's really important for you to be here, and share your experiences for past, current instructors, and also anyone who aspires to become a Sapper Leader.
Yeah, it's, first of all, I'm glad, very happy and honored to be here for this project, for the Sapper Leader Course History Project, hosted by 169. It's a great opportunity, and especially for us, the old folks that went through the course a long, long time ago, and compared to what nowadays and what is relevant out there in the regiment and the big army, it is very important to the Sapper Leader Course. Talking through the experience, great. Sapper Leader Course is one of the toughest courses that I ever went through, and it probably is rated one of the best. Ask that around the regiment, ask around our big army, that the people that went through the course, they can tell you the true story of what they experienced. What this course has done to the individual as they go through the course, it really builds a tough, knowledgeable leader with a competent and confident to conduct the missions and meet the commander's intent where they're stationed at. It really honed their skill as a leader of leading soldiers to conduct missions in a different type of environment, weather, date. It really built that confident leader so that commander can count on to meet his intent and carry out the mission with the completion on time. So it is a great course.
Great. I was wondering if you could just generally go over your roots growing up in Samoa, and then how you eventually joined the Army and became a combat engineer.
Yes. Originally hail from the island of Samoa. I joined the Army of December 29 December 1976. Came here in Fort Leonard Wood and took the basic training at AIT here. Left Leonard Wood, I think it was May when I graduated, went to Germany, Hanau, Germany, where I was here in OSA. I was a 12 Bravo combat engineers, but when I got to Germany, they reclassed me or converted me to a 12 Charlie, which is a breach crewman, building the bridges on land and on water. Then I left Hanau, Germany in I was there from 1977 to 79, went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia. I stationed there for 2 years, left Fort Belvoir, went to West Berlin, Germany, spent 3 years there. After I left West Berlin in 1985, became a drill sergeant. I was selected by the DA to be the drill sergeant. I was the drill sergeant here in Fort Leonard Wood in 589 Engineer Battalion at the time, which used to be, before to convert to the regimental, it was Echo 1-2 at the time. I served drill sergeant status for 3 years, from 1985 to 1988. Prior for me coming off the trail, I went through the Sapper Leader Course. Went through, love it, because that's one of my main objectives coming to the Army. I want to be physically and mentally challenged throughout the Army. And I went through there, loved the course. So when I left the trail, drill sergeant status 1988, I became an instructor. Worked down there from 1988 to 91. I left the Sapper Leader Course, went to Korea for 1 year. Left Korea, went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was with the 307 Engineer Battalion that supported the 82nd Airborne Division. I was a platoon sergeant. Then I moved to Battalion Operation NCO, and then I became a first sergeant Alpha 307. I left 96, and I was directly selected to become the chief instructor of the Sapper Leader Course. And by that time, I left 98, where I make the CSMD and a Lieutenant Command Sergeant Major. After the academy, went to Fort Lewis, became 14th Engineer Battalion Command Sergeant Major. In 2002, I left for Germany, 2003, I think. Left for Germany, became Engineer Brigade Sergeant Major for the 1st Armored Division, where I deployed with that brigade and the division. Returned back from Iraq in 2004. I was in Germany for 1 year, finished up my tour, then I moved back here in Fort Leonard Wood, became the 1st Engineer Brigade Sergeant Major, and then I retired here in 2008.
Can you describe, when you were just coming off the trail, how did you get the opportunity to become an instructor?
At the time, I was looking for a job because at the time, during that time frame, the engineer school used to be down Fort Belvoir, move up here, and they froze all the E6 and the E7 to help out with the engineers school moving up here. But I didn't want to be an instructor. I wanted to be an instructor at Sapper Leader Course. I want to do something hard, something that's very challenging, and especially help me out with my leadership skills, because that's what Sapper is all about, is build and hone on your leadership skills. So I went there and went through the course. I passed the first time. Very excited, very happy, and then I became an instructor. I was ecstatic because I want to train the professional soldier at the time. Drill sergeant, you deal with the new recruits, the civilians, and mold them to become a soldier in the Army. But the Sapper Leader Course is mold the leaders how to be confident and competent in what they do.
So you obviously made a very big impression on that cadre when you went through the course. They eventually picked you up to be an instructor.
Yes.
Was there anyone in particular you remember?
They were all of them are very impressive, very professional, non-commissioned officers. I couldn't single any bad one on them, but the guy that really molded me and pushed me and helped me out when I became an instructor was an infantry guy named Davey McDowell. He was my committee chief when I became an instructor. But all the instructors at the time, and I went through, they're very, very, very professional. And I look at them, they are the top notch of the Engineer Regiment at the time. Very professional.
Can you, in your own words, how the Sapper Leader Course eventually came about?
Yeah, the Sapper Leader Course concept at the time when the big army put in the infantry, the light fighter infantry division. There was the regiment at the time, the Engineer Regiment at the time, didn't have anything knowledgeable or comparable and well suited to serve those light divisions. So the Sapper Leader Course came in 1985 and really took off. Really impressive, knowledgeable for the soldiers and the leaders on how to conduct or best serve their light fighter unit at the time to meet the challenging of our Army as the transformation throughout that time. So the Sapper Leader Course at the time really prepared those soldiers and those leaders to better support those light fighter division at the time.
Can you talk about the interaction of the Sapper Leader Course with other schools in the Army?
Yes, the Sapper Leader Course, I guess, when it was formed, because the multi-facet subject that taught into the Sapper Leader Course, you're talking about infantry combat patrols, infantry missions, air assault, airborne, helocast, mountain warfare school, aerial resupply, pathfinder operation, you name it. And at the time we didn't have the field expedient demolition at the time, which is required by the course, and it was at the time we have to send the instructor to the special force warfare school in Fort Bragg so we can learn those field expedient method of demolition that really and will well prepare the soldiers to support their light fighter division at the time, because field expedient demo is new to the engineer at that time. So the only one that's very knowledgeable in those are the folks that went through the Sapper Leader Course. That really, because our general army out there, big engineer and population out there, we didn't. No one knew how to do those training except the Sapper Leader Course.
So do you have an intimate, close relationship with those specific courses to get your instructors through?
Yes, because the course, in order for the course to teach any subject out there, the instructor has to be certified. Certified means we sent that Sapper instructor to those courses. For example, as the phase 2 demo of the Special Force. In order for you to teach at that time or to train other instructors, you must first go through that course. The air assault phase, you got to go through the air assault course and the repel master course before you get up there and teach that air assault operation. Jump master is another one. You got to go to the jump master school at Benning at the time to get that certification. The mountain warfare school of rappelling, the cliff rappelling, we send the instructor to Vermont to certify on the phase 1 and phase 2 of the warfare or the mountaineering warfare school. You name it. Anything the instructor has to teach, the primary instructor has to be certified and graduate from those schools. Remember, in order to be the Sapper Leader Course instructor, you must be qualified, graduate from the Sapper Leader Course, and an airborne ranger qualified. Because Sapper Leader Course instructor, their ASI is the victor. It's the only victor position or slots in the Engineer Regiment are those Sapper Leader Course. The ASI victor is airborne ranger. So at the time when I went through the course, some of them already had met all those qualifications. I wasn't. I was one of those homegrown instructors, where I went through the Sapper Leader Course first. Then I went to airborne school, graduated from airborne school today. Tomorrow, I in process Ranger School, completed all those, came back, and I met that qualification. And I love it. And a year later, they sent me to air assault, and then the Chap Master School. It was very rewarding assignment at the time, because this was really what you want to be, be all that you can be at the time, that our Army motto at that time, be all that you can be, because you are relevant when you leave the Sapper Leader Course instructor and you go back to the maneuver forces. That's where you really need to shine who you are, because your knowledge, your physical and your mental conditions is going to help develop those leaders and those soldiers in the unit, and it's relevant, make the difference, and help those leadership up, especially to meet the commanders, the maneuver commanders' intent out there that rely on us on what we do to support them from the engineer aspect.
I'd like to talk about the relationship between the Sapper Course and the Ranger Course, and you had some very good stories last time we talked.
Yes. When I became the chief instructor of the Sapper Leader Course in '96, we have this agreement with the Ranger Regiment and the 4th RTP down in Fort Benning. We swapped instructor. They sent us 2 or 3 of their instructors that they looked of what we do in the Sapper Leader Course, and I sent 2 instructors to go down to Ranger School to observe and see if there are any changes to the doctrine, any things that help us to make the Sapper Leader Course better, or vice versa to make the Ranger better. It was great, very great rewarding. What they find out when they left here, they went through the whole POI, all the course curriculum. They took, when those RI, when they left here, they took a lot of things. First was the safety SOP at the time, because we have one of the best developed safety SOP. Our risk assessment is one of the best. And our land nav course, they did not like at the time the way we conduct our land nav course, because the ranger school, you go with your buddy, to do the land nav course, but our land nav course at the time, you were by yourself. Very tough land nav course. It's one of the toughest land nav course in the Army. Very, very tough. It not just, the reason why I say it's tough, you're not going to plot it like any other school that I went through. You pre-plot all your points, then you go from point A to point P or point A to point C to get all those points. See, the Sapper Leader Course land nav, they gave you the starting point and your first point. So you got to go from the starting point to your point A. You find it. They give you a grid coordinate on the tree, which the signs is on the big tree. You trace that number down to your paper. They give you a grid coordinate exactly where you're at, and also they tell you your next point, where you need to go find your next point. So the one great thing about that land nav course is there's no way you can cheat the land nav course. There's no way. And if you don't miss your second point, you'll never complete the course. You'll never find it. You're out of points. Because each point will tell you which direction that you go next, which next point you need to go to. And great thing is you plot it, you apply the GM angle, whether minus or plus, whatever map we got on Fort Leonard Wood. So you apply all the land nav techniques that, is because all the other schools I went to, it was pretty easy. I mean, I can pre-plot all my points. I can say, okay, instead of going my first point, I'm probably going my third point, which is closer. Then I go to my first point and come, crisscross about the Sapper Leader Course. No, it's not. But it's a self-correcting course, because anywhere you crisscross and find a point, it tells you exactly where you at. And if you're lost, all you got to do is pre-plot your map, and probably hopefully you'll find your next point. But it tells you exactly where you're at. It's one of the pretty accurate and very, very challenging course. Very, very challenging.
You said that you also contributed to the link-up operations SOP.
Yes, I went through the Ranger School. Great things about, as a Sapper instructor, going through the Ranger School, because you memorize the operation order, you memorize troop leading procedures, you memorize combat patrols, combat mission. So all you have to do is adjust your technique to their technique. And because I learned, that's what I did. It was an easy, great thing for me that, in order of the Ranger School, you got to be tough. And you got to be in the top shape, the best shape you're in for the rest of your life. So you got to train up for it. We did have a PT program. Went through the Ranger School. They have the one, was the link-up operation. I never forget that. I'll ask a lot of questions to the Ranger instructor at the time, this and that, this and that. Amazing, because I knew, I think this is difficult. I mean, I think the techniques that they use, I knew deep in myself it's not going to work. Because, you're trying to bring all the squads on that platoon together, because you do a different combat operation in different location. Now it's time to link up before you re-enter the friendly force area. As a platoon, you've got to find a place out there so the whole platoon can come together. And of course, link-up operation is one of those dangerous operations there is. Because remember, you're operating in the enemy line, and you're going to try to bring your friendly force back and link up together, then move together into the friendly force location. But I ask a lot of questions. What amazes them, and they say, Ranger, you ask so many questions. You're not going to ask no more questions. Who? Got it, Lord. But after the class, there was 2 hours, he approached me. He said, hey, you got so much knowledge about this. How can you prove to us this is not going to work? And where you work, first of all, where you work at, where you come from? So I told him I'm from Sapper Leader Course. Sapper Leader Course, of course, at the time, some of the infantry guys that work for us here, the instructors at Sapper Leader Course, these are the same guys that they're friends with our line. Yeah, we heard about Sapper Leader Course. What is a Sapper Leader Course? I say, hey, Bobby, we do the same thing you do, different techniques, but we're better because of different. We cover a lot of areas that are out there that you're not covering in your curriculum. Then I mentioned all that stuff. So they said, well, show us how you do the link-up operation Sapper Leader Course. And so I went on the board, started drawing, giving them a class, this. One thing they asked, do we have any document that shows us this is the doctrine? So I say, yes, sir. I got my Sapper Leader Course handbook in my duffel bag because, I didn't want to carry that around because the only thing at that time you carry was the Ranger handbook, which was great. So and I showed them a diagram of how we do it. They were amazed. So that was one of the relevant point that for them to say, oh, the Sapper Leader Course is great. I said, you guys are eligible to come to our course too. And so they were working on that, the infantry regiment at the time, they were working on sending some of their scouts, especially the scouts and the infantry brigades out there in the division. They were sending their infantry scouts to the Sapper Leader Course, which really helped them out in what they do. And I understand what the Sapper Leader Course, what the engineers do to help the maneuver force out there as far as breaching, mobility, counter mobility, because that's what we do. We're a master in breaching. Trust me, infantry and sometimes the Rangers say they're a master. I can prove it to them, which I did when I was platoon sergeant, first sergeant out there in the 82nd, that we are the best. We are the masters of breaching any obstacles or any countermeasures out there the enemy can throw at us. The engineers, the sappers are the best.
Next, can you describe the impact of the Sapper Leader Course graduates out in operational Army? You mentioned the Desert Storm from Grenada and
yes.
Iraq.
The impact of what we do out there in maneuver, serving our maneuver forces or commanders out there, or even the big Army. When they did the invasion of Panama and also the Gulf War, when they came back, the enforced engineer, all the engineer leaders came in and that 1 week and conduct a conference here called the Enforce. They had a big AR up there in the Lincoln Hall here in the engineering school. What amazes us was those commanders, when they asked the soldiers, not just the engineer commanders, I'm talking about the armor, maneuver infantry commanders, they asked our sappers, where did you get this experience from? Of course, the first thing that got me in those commanders' mind was Ranger School, but that's not true. The first school that they mentioned throughout that AR was the Sapper Leader Course, then the Ranger, and then the rest of, air assault, by fire, the Japmaster, all that stuff. And it was amazing because the soldiers and the leaders, they knew what experience and what the Sapper Leader Course helped them prepare them for those combat operations. What they learned from the Sapper Leader Course, and that's how they became successful in those two invasions. I was there in the AR, and they asked if any instructor here, Sapper Leader Course, instructed the audience. There was 5 of us who stood up, and everybody in the audience clapped their hands and said, continue what you're doing. Because what you're doing to our force, to our regiment, is relevant. It developed the leader to hone on their leadership skills on the carrying out their mission throughout in combat. Amazing, and I was very impressed. And talking to now, because I was down in Iraq with the with the First Army Division. I tell you, I saw the sappers conducting their missions. You can tell a graduate of the Sapper Leader Course or somebody that went through the course and the people not going through the course. You can tell the difference of the soldiers and the leader. Because you can tell just the way either that officers conduct the mission or to conduct the briefing or the rehearsal or the NCOs or that soldier. And then you ask him, where you get this experience? Sapper Leader Course. And all I do is, amen, brother, great. And I tell you, the Sapper Leader Course is one of the best schools that we need to send our engineering forces to attend, because it really helps the leader, because the course is designed to develop tough leadership, knowledgeable leaders and build a confident and competent as a leader. That's how you can tell a great leader from any other leader, because the commander can count on you to execute that mission no matter what condition you're in and what those soldiers' conditions are. Because going through the Sapper Leader Course and the Ranger School, one of those tough schools, you really find out who you are. Because your body's going to push to the max, your mental attitude, your mental toughness is going to be pushed, and your physical condition is going to be pushed. And that's why I keep on going back, tough, knowledgeable leader, because that's what the course is all about. See, when you graduate, thank God, I did not know my body can do this. Man, I did not know I can accomplish this. And plus, control a lot of fears of heights, fears of walking out in the wood in the dark, fear of landing nav at night. That will be all controlled by you going through the course. So it really find out who you are as a person, first of all, and that builds that confidence and competent as a leader to carry out. I mean, maneuver guys, I work for a lot of the infantry and armor. Trust me, when my platoon move in or my company move, they know the standards of the Sapper Leader Course, because the Sapper Leader Course is nothing but the standards. You got to meet those standards. If you don't, you're not graduate. But great thing is, if you're not going to graduate, they give you a certificate of attendance. You still learn that. Because what's my thing, a lot of that, those students, graduation is one thing. Not everybody can make it. But the training that you're going to receive here is how you take that back and teach your soldiers through what you learn through here. Because those leadership commanders and the leadership in that unit, they'll count on you what you can bring back and train those soldiers so they become a better or great soldiers in the unit. So I'm trying to, I'm a proud member of the Sapper Leader Course. I think my heart is got with the Sapper tab in there. I love the Sappers, my loyalty and my energy. And I've done a lot of things for the Sapper. I started off as an instructor, senior instructor, committee chief, the subject matter expert with the SME that deals with the POI and lesson plans, and also the chief instructor. So I know inside and outside of that course, what a course is designed and what a course do for anybody that come through the course. It really build a great leader, and that's what we need in the Army. Tough, knowledgeable leader, confident and competent in what they do.
So you have a unique perspective, first in 1988 and in 1996 you were chief instructor, and then you came back in 06 you were the first Engineer Regiment Sergeant Major. So you had a unique perspective from really each era of the Sapper Leader Course.
Yes, because, as the Army do the transformation, throughout the years, the Sapper Leader Course it's got to do the same thing, because yes, we got few light fighter divisions still remain in place, but if you look at those leaders, most of the leaders in the unit are already qualified, so we need to open up to all our engineer brothers and sisters. So the Sapper Leader Course is relevant through the Engineer Regiment. And everybody out there in the world and witness what our sappers are doing in Afghanistan and Iraq on route clearance. We are the only one that conducted that. But you can tell the difference when the planning and the rehearsal that the confident leader get out there, it saves a lot of life. My time as an instructor, yes, we were dealing strictly with the POI and the lesson plan because we have to stay with what the trade-up put in place of how your class is going to be, what the lesson plan look like, POI, great format. I love it. But when I came back as the Command Sergeant Major of the brigade, looking at them, make sure that the course is under somebody's wing, as far as to provide them logistics and resources, training, and whatever, and instruction. You got, at that level, at the Command Sergeant Major, you got to look at the number one instructor because you can make the contact through the HRC, the human resource, or the branch up there in the DC and say, hey, Sapper Leader Course is short. I'm short of this instructor. I need people to come down. I need some NCOs who come and fill the gap. Because, as an instructor, 3 years the max you need to be in that course because you'll be burnt out. And plus, you need to rotate do your out there in the force so you can stay relevant and stay competitive with your peers. Because as Sapper instructor, I tell you, I've seen the level of expertise, the level of professionalism. These are the best that the Army provides. Because in order to be a Sapper instructor, you got to have different mentality. Long hours, time away from your family. You're going to miss a lot of family activities because of the Sapper Leader Course, because that's your mission. Because you work day and night in that course. And I went through that, and one of the toughest position, one of the toughest assignment I ever had, but it's very, very rewarding because it really builds you when you go out there in the maneuver force, when that commander, that infantry or the armor say, hey, Sapper, I want this. Roger, good sir, got it. We can make it happen. This how, because the leader for the Sapper, this is how you analyze, and this is how you best tell that maneuver commander, this is the best way I can support you. See? And that makes that commander, I didn't see from that perspective. But as a Sapper leader, whether that officer or that NCOSC or that platoon sergeant, that lieutenant or the company commander, that first sergeant, hey, sir, this is how I can, ma'am, this is how I can best support you because this is my expertise. And that plays relevant out there in the maneuver force. I trained a lot with the armor and with all the combat MOSs, because the Sapper is one on the combat multiplier. But when those infantry and those armor commanders, when they look at when we come in with preaching, we are the best. And because it really helps out synchronize the plan for that combatant commander on the ground, because that's what the Sapper do. At this time, we're going to preach this. Because if you look at what the Sapper do, we shape the battlefield for the commander. That's what we do. We turn the enemy here, we block the enemy here, whatever we do to channelize the enemy down where the commander wants to kill someone at. Where can we kill the enemy at? And all that stuff. But, going back to Iraq and Afghanistan, it's relevant. It's the Sapper Leader Course really help those folks pay attention, more detailed planning, more rehearsal, and evidence that we find IED, we save the life out there for numerous people moving on the MSR or on a different route. The Sappers out there making a difference every day. So it's relevant what we do.
Back in 2005, you had the opportunity to pin on the first Sapper tabs, is that correct?
Yes, actually it was 2005 or 2004? 2005, yes.
Go through about the history of getting the Sapper tab approved.
At a time, before the tab was awarded, really to me, because there was no tab at the time, I really didn't focus on at that time in the time. What I was really proud of, the experience that I got for going through the course and been working as an instructor. That was my rewarding stuff for me. But later, General Flowers, the chief of the engineer at the time, Yeah, in 2004 and 2003, 2004, he went through the General Schumacher, he's the chief of staff of the Army at the time. Talked with him and with the DA and the approval. But the focus, I'm glad the hard work pays off. And my hat, I salute, first off, and not just General Flower. I look at the Lieutenant General, what's his name? I'll come back to it. He was a post commander here. Schroeder at the time. He's the one who started the Sapper Leader Course when he was a CGM. And then look at the General Flowers, we make the tap. We have a lot of general officers in our regiment that really supports and care about what we do in the Sapper Leader Course. I think that's why we have a lot of survivability, why the course is still survived nowadays, because we got great leaders that care about our formation and cares about our soldiers, and especially their learning and their training aspect. But I wasn't looking at at the time of this. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I proved to everybody I got a Sapper tap. That was not the focus. The focus was, hey, let me see what I can do. Let me go learn something new. That's what the course is all about. 90% of everything we in the course is new to the soldiers and the leader of that unit. So now they come together as a leader, going through the course. They really, first of all, because that's what the course was designed to bring your unit leadership, really find out the good, the bad, and ugly of that leadership in that unit. Find out the strong and the weaknesses so they can continue to work together as a team and develop and work on those weaknesses and sustain their strength. I tell you, it was one of the best things because the company commander can look at, squad leader, platoon sign. Oh, that guy's strong. No, that guy is not strong. And gives the tool to that commander the assessment and say, okay, I need to work on this when I get back. Who are my go-get guys? Who are my strong? Who are my weaknesses? Because once you graduate from that course, you know that unit is strong, very strong. If the leadership graduate from the course, so that's another good example of. But the tap, yes, very happy about it. The soldiers that go through and graduate, they earn it. They have the right to wear that and call themselves sappers. It's just like any other school. I mean, graduating from the Sapper Leader Course is one of the best, most exciting moments in my life when I graduated. I've done it because my body was pushed through the limits. Trust me. But I trust the instructor. See, that's another thing with the course. They got a lot of safety because you're operating at night, day and night. Whatever weather, summer, winter, cold, rain. But those Sapper instructors, they care on the condition of the soldier. They care, trust me. So they have to provide the risk assessment, operating there in the wood, sometimes minus 20 or 20 degrees. Hey, what are you going to do? At the time, they allow us to build fires to keep us warm, for a certain time of the operation. Depends on what we do out there in a tactical environment. Then you put the fire out, you're moving. Good thing is you're constantly moving. You're not. The only time you stay stationed at a certain time of the day or night is the plan for your next mission. While you're constantly moving, you're humping that rucksack up and down. It's I tell the armor folks when I got there, when that track breaks down, what are you going to do? Don't tell me you're going to sit there and, you got to get your soda out, put that rucksack on, let's move. It's a different mentality. But
what was the most memorable moment that you can remember while you were?
What's that again?
The most memorable moment in either when you were at the Sapper Leader Course instructor or just in your Army career.
I think I have a lot, man. I can talk all day. Greatest thing is, as an instructor, first of all, me as a drill sergeant, when you look at those students that you develop, you and your other drill sergeant buddies, develop their 13 weeks, mold them from a civilian life to become a soldier, very rewarding for me, very exciting. Because, these kids are stuck with you for 13 weeks. And you start developing them the day one till they graduate AIT. And especially those soldiers that I was struggling, trying to meet the weight, trying to pass this test, this and that, trying to qualify the PRM, on the basic rifle marksmanship. But you spend the time in the evening with those soldiers, develop them, training them, teach them, battle drill and whatever. And once they complete it, when they graduate, you can look at them. I mean, they have tears coming in their eyes and they thank you. Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you. Thank you for training. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for development. It's a self-rewarding for me when I see those soldiers graduate. Because those are the same soldiers that I put through the training. Those are the same soldiers I saw after I left here, they were in my unit. So, they look at me, oh my God, drill sergeant funny. I got you again, buddy. Guess what? I'm not changed. Now, I was a drill sergeant. Now I'm your platoon sergeant. And it's quite rewarding. Same thing, look at the Sapper Leader Course graduate. One of the exciting things. Because you knew you're not going to be instructor forever. But you develop and you train and train these folks harder. And I met all of them when I went back. When I was instructor, Sapper knows they're going to earn their pay. Because if they didn't meet the standards on the different tasks, I make them do it over and over again until they got it complete. Because that's the one thing that Sapper Leader Course is well known is the standards. Either you meet the standards or you don't. And if you don't, this is what happens to you. If you do, this is what happens to you. You graduate. If you don't meet the standards, you're not graduating. So great feeling is when you see these students graduate. One of the exciting things. One thing that really excited my mind when I saw my son in Iraq. Great thing. He was a combat engineer too. He was with the same. Serving with your son down in the same division, it was very exciting. Of course, I lost my son there, but everybody was heartbroken. But me as a leader, because a lot of people ask me, how did I prepare? Because I maintain I didn't have no emotional show in front of people. I do it at night when I think about him. Is how I took care of those soldiers that was under me and the leaders, with my son and say, hey, look here. If it wasn't my son, it might be somebody else. But my son understand because, he spent 2 or 3 nights with me talking about, hey, you might not make it out here, I may not make it out here, both of us might not make it. Just understand what we're here and stay focused on what we do. And, of course, my son was very disciplined, tough like his dad. He wanted to follow my footsteps. So it's one of those exciting things when your son is serving with you in combat. And I never forget that. The Sappers, at the time, in the 2003, 2004, the 1st Armored Division Engineer Brigade was the first time since World War II that, because the brigade was to have 10 battalions and 4 separate companies. One of the biggest brigades there was at the time. So because you're dealing with, the Reserve, National Guard, and active duty, one of those great moments for me was, stay focused on take care of this soldiers and this leadership because they're under your umbrella, And I go out there, make sure that the quality of life is taken care of, make sure they understand what the commander's mission is all about. We would support, the division commander, which at the time was General Dempsey, at the time was our division commander. Make sure we understand what we do to help the Iraqi stand on their own feet in the future. And my hats goes out to everyone that served in that theater. They can see what Iraqi nowadays, what we make. Because one of the things the president mentioned on his speech President Bush in 2003, the American Heritage Foundation, because what I told him in the memorial service of my son down there, what we're doing in Iraq, we're making a difference. We're providing them peace, prosperity, stability, and all that stuff. And he mentioned that because I just want people that will serve under me understand what I was focused on too, because we are making a difference down there, and thank God that these people can see the freedom and especially peace, and one of those great moments. And I have a lot, but it takes forever, a long time for me. The Army's been great for me, I tell you. I love the Army, and I was honored and to serve our country in our regiment. The Sapper is always part of my life. It'll never change. The Sapper Leader Course make me a different person, definitely. And I just love being a soldier, and love training and leading a soldier. And it was a sad moment when in the retirement. Everything's got to come to an end. I understand, but
I guess to wrap it up, looking back and wanting to, obviously you're here, you want to make sure the Sapper Leader Course succeeds. What is your advice to future Sapper Leader Courses?
Stay with what is relevant with the regiment and the big Army. Stay relevant of what we do out there as the regiment and the Army. Yes, it needs to be changed. The breaching, our route clearance is a big thing for the Army. Well, we need to pay some more attention to that to make sure it's implemented, well implemented, embedded into the course. Of course, if you look nowadays, I doubt it very seriously we're going to be in the jungle anywhere in the world. It looks like we're going to be in an urban fight in the future. So as the leaders rotate in and out within the command and here in the Sapper Leader Course, they need to stay focused on that. Stay relevant, bring things, change things that we really need out there in our regiment, and as a sapper, as an engineer, because engineers, well-talented, well-disciplined soldier, but the cores need to be changed and stay up with what is relevant in our formation in our big Army nowadays. Route clearance, got it, but we're never gonna. IED defeat, patrolling, navigation, those things that it stays relevant. If you look at all the technology that we got in the regiment and our Army, the leaders of the Sapper Leader Course need to think that way, because it's not condensed to certain people here and there no more, but it focuses on who can we best serve out there. Of course, the maneuvering guys.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Well, thanks a lot, sir. Great time, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor and privilege to be here. Sappers clear the way, Sappers lead the way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.